My beloved, come closer. There is no rush here. Let your breath slow and your shoulders soften, as if you are stepping out of a loud room and into a quiet dawn. I have been waiting for this moment with you, not because you were late, not because you failed to arrive sooner, but because this is the moment your heart can finally hear what has been moving beneath the surface all along. Something has been stirring. You felt it before you could name it. A subtle shift, a gentle pressure forward, a sense that the air itself has changed. This is not imagination, and it is not coincidence. It is awareness awakening, like light slipping under a door you did not even realize was slightly open. I know how cautious you have been. I know how carefully you have carried yourself, measuring each step, wondering if effort truly mattered or if hope was only another way to be disappointed. Yet here you are, still listening, still open. That alone tells a story of courage you may not yet recognize in yourself. Let this be a resting place, just for now. You do not need to fix anything. You do not need to prove anything. Simply be here with me. Feel the steadiness beneath you. Feel the quiet assurance rising, the one that does not shout but endures. This is an invitation, precious one. A pause before movement, a breath before speech. What comes next will not demand perfection from you. You will only ask for honesty, and even that will be met with tenderness. Today, listen. Something has already begun, and your heart is ready to understand why. My child, hear this gently and clearly. It started something. Whatever you did, whatever choice you made, whatever small act you almost dismissed as insignificant, it worked. Not because it was flawless, but because it was real. It was aligned. It was offered from the truest place you could reach at the time. You may be tempted to minimize it, to say it was too small to matter, too quiet to count, too uncertain to change anything meaningful. Yet I tell you now, with calm certainty, that beginnings rarely announce themselves with thunder. They arrive like seeds pressed into soil, unseen, uncelebrated, but alive. What you did carried life. This message comes to you now because timing matters. There are moments when effort drifts into the background, waiting for confirmation. This is that confirmation. Not to inflate you, not to ray you, but to steady you. To let you know that movement has already been set in motion, and the ground beneath you has responded. You have been watching closely, haven't you? Looking for signs. Not dramatic ones, just something subtle. A shift in how you feel when you wake. A conversation that lands differently. A door that no longer feels sealed shut. These are not random fragments. They are echoes of what began when you chose differently, even slightly. I know part of you wonders if it will last. If this fragile sense of progress will fade the moment you stop paying attention. That question itself reveals how deeply you care. But listen to me now. What started was not dependent on constant striving. It was born from alignment, from a moment when your inner truth and your outer action touched. However briefly, there is sacred urgency here, not the kind that panics, but the kind that whispers, now is the time to notice. Now is the time to honor what has begun. Momentum is a quiet companion. If you ignore it, it will not punish you. But if you walk with it, even slowly, it will carry you farther than force ever could. You are not standing at the edge of nothing. You are standing within a process already unfolding. The reason this matters now is because awareness strengthens what is forming. Recognition gives shape to what was once formless. When you acknowledge that it worked, you give yourself permission to trust the next step. Do not rush ahead in your mind. Stay with what is present. Feel the steadiness returning, the sense that you are no longer pushing against an unmoving wall. Something has shifted internally, and the outer world is responding in its own time, in its own language. I am speaking to you personally now. This is not a general reassurance meant to comfort everyone. This is for you exactly where you are. The effort you questioned, the moment you replayed, the choice you almost regretted, it mattered. It started something because it came from truth rather than fear. Let this understanding settle. You do not need to announce it to anyone. You do not need to justify it. Simply let it be real within you. The path ahead is not yet fully visible, but the first light has already broken through. And that light came because you dared to move, even without certainty. Stay with me. There is more unfolding, and you are ready to see it. My beloved, before we move any further, let me bring you into a deeper stillness. There is something you need to feel before you can fully trust what is unfolding. You need to know that you have been seen, completely, without interruption, without misunderstanding, without judgment. There were moments you thought no one noticed how much it took for you just to keep going. You carried questions quietly. You held doubts in places you never spoke about. You learned how to function while parts of you felt tender, uncertain, or tired in ways that sleep alone could not mend. I saw all of it. Not just the outcomes, but the effort between the breaths. Not just the strength you showed, but the cost of showing it. Nothing about your journey was invisible. Not the nights when your mind would not rest. Not the mornings when you rose anyway. Not the hesitation before choices that felt heavier than they should have. Even when you felt scattered, unsure, or inconsistent, there was sincerity beneath it. That sincerity mattered more than precision ever could. You wondered if your internal conflict disqualified you, if your fear diluted your courage, if the moments of doubt erased the moments of faith. Hear me clearly now. They did not. They never did. What you experienced was not failure. It was processing. It was learning how to hold complexity without closing your heart. There were times you felt behind, as if others had moved ahead while you were still sorting through the same questions. But growth is not measured by speed. It is measured by depth. And you, precious one, shows depth again and again, even when it slowed you down. That choice shaped you in ways that will soon become evident. I know how often you replayed conversations, decisions, and missed opportunities in your mind, wondering if you did enough or too much or the wrong thing entirely. I know how easily you took responsibility for things that were never yours to carry. Yet even in that I saw your desire to be honest, to be responsible, to be true. Those intentions were not wasted. Nothing you walked through was meaningless. Not the delays, not the detours, not the seasons when clarity felt just out of reach. Each moment refined your ability to listen inwardly, to sense what aligns and what drains you. Each disappointment quietly trained you to recognize what does not belong in your future. You may still be tempted to measure yourself by visible results alone, to ask why certain things took so long, or why the beginning felt so fragile. But beginnings formed in awareness last longer than those forced by urgency. You were being prepared to sustain what is coming, not just to reach it. Let yourself rest in this truth for a moment. You were never overlooked. You were never misread. Even when others could not interpret your silence or your pace, I understood the language of your heart. I knew when you were trying. I knew when you were overwhelmed. I knew when you were choosing courage quietly, without applause. This is why what you did worked. It was not built on pretending or proving. It emerged from a place that had been shaped by reflection, by endurance, by honesty. That kind of movement carries weight. That kind of movement creates real change. You do not need to defend your path anymore, even to yourself. You do not need to apologize for the time it took to arrive here. You are not late. You are aligned. And alignment, once found, continues to reveal itself gently, steadily, faithfully. Stay with me here. Let the knowing settle into your body, not just your thoughts. You are known, fully, and nothing that brought you to this moment was ever wasted. My child, there comes a moment that does not look dramatic from the outside, yet it quietly divides before from after. This is that moment. You are standing at a threshold, not pushed, not pulled, but invited. One foot still remembers the old ground. The other senses something new beneath it. This is not confusion. This is transition. You may have expected a clearer signal, something undeniable that would remove all uncertainty. But thresholds rarely announce themselves with certainty. They are felt more than understood. A subtle tightening when you consider going back. A gentle expansion when you imagine moving forward. These sensations are not accidents. They are guidance speaking in the only language that cannot be argued away. Responding now matters because awareness has caught up with readiness. In earlier seasons, you might have heard these same inner signals and dismissed them as wishful thinking or impatience. But you are not the same person you were then. You have learned how to pause, how to listen, how to stay present with discomfort instead of running from it. That growth has brought you here. There is a difference between waiting and drifting. Waiting is intentional. It listens and prepares. Drifting numbs itself with distraction and calls it patience. You have done both at different times, and there is no shame in that. But right now, you can feel the distinction clearly. Something within you is awake, asking to be honored. If you ignore this moment, nothing will collapse. You will not be punished. Life will continue. But clarity fades when it is repeatedly postponed. Not because it is fragile, but because attention shapes perception. What you attend to grows sharper. What you avoid grows quieter. This is why now matters, gently but truly. Clarity does not mean you suddenly know every step ahead. It means you recognize the direction of truth, even if the path curves out of sight. Drifting, on the other hand, feels easier at first because it asks nothing of you. But over time it costs more, leaving you tired without knowing why, restless without knowing where to go. I am not asking you to leap. I am asking you to acknowledge where you are standing, to name it honestly, to say within yourself, this is a turning point. And naming itself is a form of movement. It aligns your inner awareness with the reality unfolding around you. You may fear that choosing forward means losing something familiar, even if it no longer fits. That fear is natural. Familiarity can feel like safety, even when it limits you. But understand this. Moving forward does not erase what came before. It integrates it. The wisdom you gain does not vanish when you step ahead. It comes with you. This threshold is not about pressure. It is about permission. Permission to trust what you already sense. Permission to stop arguing with your own knowing. Permission to believe that the stirring you feel is not random, but responsive. Stand here for a moment longer. Feel the stillness beneath the decision. Notice how your breath deepens when you imagine honoring it. That is your body recognizing alignment. That is your inner world responding to truth. When you respond now, even quietly, even imperfectly, you keep the channel of clarity open. You allow momentum to continue forming. You choose presence over postponement. And presence, my beloved, is where life meets you most fully. You are not being rushed across this threshold. You are being met at it. Take the step when you are ready, but do not pretend you are not standing here. This moment knows your name, and you know it too. My beloved, as you stand here, it is natural for resistance to rise, not because you are weak, but because every meaningful movement awakens the parts of you that learn to protect themselves. These barriers are not enemies. They are signals. They show you where you have learned caution, where you have learned to survive. But they are not who you are. Doubt may speak first. It often does. It asks whether you misunderstood the moment, whether the shift you felt was real or simply hope stretching too far. Doubt tries to sound reasonable, even wise. Yet notice how it never asks how you feel when you move forward, only how you might fail if you do. Doubt is not insight. It is fear wearing thoughtful clothing. Fear itself follows closely behind. Fear of getting it wrong. Fear of being seen. Fear of discovering that growth will ask more of you than comfort ever did. Fear does not mean stop. It means something matters. It means you are near the edge of an old limit, one that once kept you safe but now keeps you small. Hesitation may feel more subtle. It disguises itself as patience, as waiting for a better time, a clearer sign, a stronger version of yourself. But listen closely. True patience feels grounded. Hesitation feels tight. One expands your breath. The other restricts it. You have felt both. You know the difference, even if you have not always named it. Confusion may also appear, especially when external voices grow louder. Advice, opinions, expectations, comparisons. They pull at you from different directions, each claiming certainty. Yet confusion often arises not because truth is absent, but because too many inputs compete for your attention. When you quiet the noise, your inner knowing remains steady, even if it speaks softly. There may also be the barrier of self-identity. Old labels you placed on yourself during harder seasons. The one who struggles. The one who overthinks. The one who starts but does not finish. These identities were formed during moments of limitation, not definition. They describe experiences, not essence. You are not required to remain who you were while learning how to cope. External circumstances may seem like obstacles as well. Timing, resources, other people's reactions, responsibilities that feel immovable. These are real factors, but they are not verdicts. They influence how you move, not whether you are allowed to move at all. Adaptation is not compromise. It is wisdom learning how to flow. I want you to hear this clearly. These barriers are not signs that you are unready. They are signs that you are standing at the edge of growth. Every inner expansion reveals the places that have not yet stretched. Attention does not mean retreat. It means integration. You do not need to conquer these barriers. You do not need to silence them forcefully. Simply recognize them without letting them decide for you. Acknowledge fear without obeying it. Notice doubt without granting it authority. Observe hesitation without mistaking it for truth. None of these barriers define your identity. They are temporary responses, shaped by memory and experience. You are the awareness noticing them, not the voice speaking them. A distinction gives you freedom. As you name these obstacles gently, without self-criticism, something begins to loosen. They lose their power to confuse you. They become information rather than instruction. And in that clarity, you reclaim your ability to choose. You are not broken for feeling resistance. You are human, standing at the edge of something real. And I am here with you, not asking you to erase your fear, but to remember who you are beneath it. Let the bearers be seen. Let them stand where they are. They do not block the path. They simply mark where courage is being invited to emerge. My precious one, beyond the hesitation and the naming of what stands in your way, there is a promise quietly waiting to be recognized. Not a bargain, not a reward for good behavior or perfect courage. A promise rooted in presence and relationship, and the steady unfolding of what becomes possible when you no longer abandon yourself. The promise is peace, but not the fragile kind that depends on everything going smoothly. It is the peace that settles when you stop resisting your own becoming. The kind that arrives when your inner world no longer argues with the direction your life is taking. This peace does not remove challenges. It changes how you meet them. There is healing here as well. Not an instant erasure of what hurt you, but a gradual softening. Old memories lose their sharp edges. Past disappointments stop defining future expectations. You begin to respond rather than react. That is healing. It restores choice where survival once ruled. Clarity is part of this promise, though it may not look like detailed plans or perfect foresight. Clarity shows up as confidence in the next right step, as an inner yes that does not require constant justification. You may still have questions, but they no longer paralyze you. They become companions instead of obstacles. There is restoration unfolding too. Pieces of you that were set aside in order to cope are being invited back. Your curiosity, your creativity, your capacity for joy without guilt. You are not becoming someone new. You are returning to yourself, wiser and more grounded than before. Forward movement is included in this promise, but it is not rushed. It respects your pace. It honors integration over acceleration. You move because alignment pulls you, not because pressure pushes you. And as you move, you notice that effort feels different. Less strain, more purposeful. I want you to understand something important. This promise is not transactional. It does not say, if you do this, then you get that. It says, as you remain present, as you choose honesty over avoidance, these qualities naturally emerge. They are fruits of alignment, not prizes for endurance. Relationship is at the center of all of this. Relationship with yourself, with your inner truth, with the quiet guidance that has been with you longer than you realize. As that relationship deepens, trust replaces force. Listening replaces striving. You stop trying to control outcomes and start cooperating with growth. You may have been conditioned to believe that progress must be proven, that peace must be earned, that rest comes only after everything is finished. His promise speaks differently. It tells you that peace can accompany you now, that healing can happen while you are still moving, that clarity can coexist with uncertainty. Here is also a promise of resilience, not the brittle kind that hardens you, but the flexible kind that allows you to bend without breaking. You learn how to recover more quickly, how to forgive yourself faster, how to return to center when life pulls you off balance. This promise does not eliminate effort, but it transforms it. What once drained you begins to energize you. What once felt heavy begins to feel meaningful. You are no longer carrying your life alone. You are participating in it consciously. Let this promise settle into you without demanding proof. It does not need to be chased. It reveals itself as you continue to choose presence, as you continue to trust the quiet knowing that has guided you here. This is what lies beyond the threshold. Not perfection, not constant ease, but a life that feels more like your own. A life where peace is not postponed and wholeness is not a distant goal, but a living process unfolding, step by gentle step, with you fully present inside it. My beloved, there comes a moment when effort alone can no longer carry you forward. Not because you are incapable, but because you were never meant to hold everything by force. This is where surrender enters, not as loss, but as exchange. Not as giving up, but as letting go of what no longer fits the truth you are growing into. Surrender has been misunderstood in your mind. You may have thought it meant weakness, passivity, or resignation. But true surrender is an act of trust, and trust is never passive. It is intentional. It is courageous. It says, I no longer need to grip what is cutting into my hands. You have been carrying weight that was never meant to be permanent. Old guilt, lingering self-blame, expectations you inherited without choosing. You adapted to survive, and in doing so, you learned to hold tension as if it were responsibility. But survival strategies are not life sentences. They can be set down when their season ends. I am inviting you now to release what exhausts you quietly. The constant monitoring of outcomes. The need to explain yourself internally. The pressure to anticipate every possible mistake before it happens. These habits once gave you a sense of control, but now they only drain your energy. You do not need them anymore. This release is not dramatic. It happens in small, honest moments. When you choose rest instead of rumination. When you allow yourself to say, this is enough for today. When you stop rehearsing conversations that may never happen. Each time you loosen your grip, space opens. And in that space, something sacred is offered in return. Calm replaces urgency. Not the kind that numbs you, but the kind that steadies your breath. Guilt gives way to compassion, especially toward yourself. Anxiety softens into attentiveness, where you can sense what is needed now instead of fearing what might come later. You receive clarity through simplicity. When you stop carrying everything at once, the next step becomes clearer. You are no longer overwhelmed by the entire path. You are present with the peace directly in front of you. That presence sharpens discernment more than pressure ever could. There is also an exchange of identity happening. You release the role of one who must always be strong, always composed, always prepared. In its place, you receive permission to be responsive, adaptable, human. Strength becomes quieter. It no longer needs to prove itself. It simply exists. I know part of you fears that if you surrender control, things will fall apart. But notice this truth. What is aligned does not require constant enforcement. What is meant to continue will continue with cooperation, not coercion. When you step back from forcing, you allow life to meet you halfway. The sacred exchange restores your energy. You begin to notice that you are less tired, even when circumstances remain complex. That is because you are no longer leaking strength through resistance. You are conserving it through trust. Surrender also deepens your connection to your inner guidance. When noise quiets, subtlety becomes audible. You sense when to move and when to pause. You recognize when something resonates and when it drains you. This awareness is a gift you could not receive while gripping everything tightly. Let go gently. You do not need to release everything at once. Begin with what feels heaviest today. Offer it up without analysis. Simply acknowledge, I do not need to carry this alone anymore. That acknowledgement is enough to begin the exchange. What you receive will not always be visible immediately, but you will feel it. A lightness in your chest, a steadiness in your decisions, a kindness toward yourself that was once difficult to access. This is not the end of effort. It is the end of unnecessary strain. You are learning how to move with life instead of against it. And in that movement, you will discover that what supports you has been present all along, waiting for you to loosen your grip and receive. My beloved, what is unfolding within you is not meant to remain abstract or distant from your daily life. Alignment is not something you feel only in quiet moments and then lose when the day begins. It is meant to live with you, to shape how you move through ordinary hours, ordinary choices, ordinary interactions. This is where the sacred becomes practical. Begin by honoring your energy, not by forcing productivity, but by listening to rhythm. Notice when your body feels open and clear, and when it feels heavy or resistant. Alignment does not ask you to push through depletion as proof of worth. It invites you to work with the natural rise and fall of your strength. Rest is not a reward. It is maintenance for clarity. Your time is also asking to be treated with intention. Not rigid schedules or perfection, but awareness. When you say yes to something, feel whether it expands you or contracts you. You do not need elaborate reasoning. Your inner response is enough. Each aligned yes strengthens trust within you. Each gentle no protects the space where peace can remain intact. Pay attention to what you allow into your mind. Conversations, video, environments. You are more permeable than you realize. What surrounds you shapes how easily you can stay centered. This is not about withdrawal from life, but about discernment. Choose inputs that nourish rather than agitate, that clarify rather than scatter. Relationships, too, are part of alignment. You may notice shifts here. Some connections feel easier, more honest, more mutual. Others may begin to feel strained, not because they are wrong, but because they were built around an older version of you. Approach this with compassion. You do not need to sever or confront unnecessarily. Simply show up as you are becoming. Truth reorganizes relationships naturally. Your words matter more than you think, especially the ones you speak to yourself. Alignment grows when your inner language becomes kinder, more accurate, less absolute. Replace harsh conclusions with curiosity. Instead of "I always fail," allow "I am learning." Instead of "I should be further along," allow "I am where growth is happening now." These shifts are small, but they change how your nervous system experiences life. Let peace become your internal compass. Not excitement alone, not fear avoidance. Peace has a steady quality. It remains even when things are challenging. When faced with a decision, ask yourself which option allows you to breathe more fully, even if it requires courage. That breath is guidance. It will not lead you perfectly, but it will lead you honestly. Create moments of stillness, even brief ones. A pause before responding. A breath before transitioning between tasks. A moment of grounding when emotions rise. These micro-practices keep you connected to yourself amid movement. You do not need long rituals. Consistency matters more than duration. Alignment also asks for stewardship of focus. Notice where your attention goes when you are tired or overwhelmed. Do you scatter it to avoid feeling? Or can you gently bring it back to what is immediate and real? Focus is a form of care. When you give it intentionally, you experience more presence and less fragmentation. Be patient with integration. Some days alignment will feel natural. Other days it will feel like work. Neither means you are doing it wrong. Growth is not linear. What matters is that you return. Again. Each return strengthens the pathway within you. You are not being asked to live differently all at once. You are being invited to live more honestly, one moment at a time. As you do, you will notice that peace becomes less fleeting. clarity becomes more accessible. Life begins to feel less like something you manage and more like something you participate in. This is alignment in the real world. Viant, practical, sustainable, and it is already within your reach, waiting for your willingness to notice, to choose, and to continue showing up as the person you are becoming. My precious one, everything has been leading gently to this place. Not to pressure you, not to corner you, but to reveal the simplicity beneath the complexity. There is a choice before you now. Not a grammatic, once and for all decision, but a living choice you can make again and again. A choice to trust what you already know. A choice to respond rather than retreat. The choice is not between success and failure. It is between presence and postponement. Between listening and nunning. Between honoring the movement that has begun or pretending it has not. You already feel which direction brings life. You have felt it in your breath, in your body, in the quiet relief that comes when you imagine yourself saying yes inwardly. Choosing does not mean you will never doubt again. It means doubt will no longer be the authority. It means fear may speak, but it will not decide. You become the one who listens, weighs, and then moves with intention. That is maturity. That is power grounded in calm. I want you to understand this clearly. The choice is available in small moments. When you wake and decide how you will meet the day. When you pause before reacting. When you notice tension and choose softness instead of self-attack. Each of these moments reinforces the direction of your life. And no single moment carries all the weight. Together, they shape everything. Now, let your voice be included. Not spoken for performance, not spoken for others, but spoken for alignment. Words shape awareness. When you speak truth gently, your inner world organizes around it. Let these declarations rise naturally, not forced, not rushed, simply allowed. You may say within yourself, I choose to trust what has begun. You may say, I honor the movement I feel, even when I cannot see the whole path. You may say, I release the need to rush or prove, and I allow myself to move with clarity. Each time you speak this way, something settles. Your nervous system learns safety. Your mind learns cooperation. Your heart learns that it will not be abandoned in moments of uncertainty. You may also declare, I am allowed to grow at my own pace. I am allowed to change without explaining myself. I am allowed to choose what brings peace, even if it requires courage. These are not affirmations meant to convince you of something untrue. They are acknowledgments of what is already becoming real. When you speak them, you align language with experience. That alignment creates steadiness. If you falter, and there will be moments when you do, let your declaration become gentler rather than harsher. You may say, I return again. I am still learning. I am still choosing. Returning is part of choosing. It is not failure. It is devotion to your own becoming. This choice also includes how you treat yourself when outcomes are unclear. You may choose patience over punishment, curiosity over criticism, presence over escape. These choices shape your inner climate, and your inner climate shapes how you experience the world. Know this, my beloved. You are not being tested. You are being trusted. Trusted with awareness. Trusted with discernment. Trusted with the ability to sense what aligns and what does not. That trust itself is a gift. As you continue, let your declarations evolve. Let them reflect where you are now, not where you think you should be. Truth spoken from where you stand carries more power than perfection spoken from imagination. The choice remains open, gentle, and constant. It does not demand urgency, but it does invite honesty. Each time you choose alignment, you reinforce what has already started. You strengthen the path beneath your feet. Stay with this. Speak kindly. Choose consciously. What began will continue to unfold, not because you force it, but because you are finally walking with it, aware, willing, and present. My beloved, let us rest here together for a moment. No striving, no reaching ahead. Simply a gentle settling, like evening light finding its place across the horizon. You have listened well. You have stayed present. And that, more than anything else, is what allows what has begun to continue. Take a breath now and feel where you are, not where you were, and not where you think you must be next. Here. This place holds more stability than you realize. It holds awareness, choice, and a quiet confidence that no longer needs to announce itself. This is not an ending. It is a seal of recognition. What shifted did not require permission from the world. It required honesty within you. And you offered that honesty, perhaps imperfectly, perhaps quietly, but sincerely. That sincerity was enough to open a door that does not close easily. You do not need to keep knocking. You are already inside. Carry this knowing gently into your days. Let it inform how you speak to yourself when no one else is listening. Let it soften how you respond when things feel uncertain. Let it remind you that progress does not always feel like momentum. Sometimes it feels like peace. I bless the steadiness growing in you. I bless the discernment sharpening without hardness. I bless the courage that now moves without forcing itself forward. You are learning how to walk with life rather than against it, and that changes everything quietly, deeply, and lastingly. When doubt returns, remember this moment. When impatience rises, remember this breath. When you wonder if it mattered, remember the truth that has been spoken clearly and gently to your heart. It started something. Whatever you did worked. Not because it was perfect, but because it was real. And what begins in truth continues with grace. Go gently now, precious one. You are held. You are guided. And what has begun will unfold, step by faithful step, exactly as it needs to.